Good morning. Welcome to the Smart Life Club. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vicki Helm, and I'm so glad you joined us today. Welcome. If you're new here, do me a favor, put your name down there and let me know who you are. I'd like to meet you. And if you're on YouTube, smash that like button. Welcome. We've just started going live for a few months on YouTube, and we're glad you're here. Now, if you're watching this replay, after the live, do me a favor and put hashtag replay down below. And you know what? If you're new here, this is the Coffee Break Show. We go live Monday through Friday, and we talk about things that inspire us. We have conversations. We share all kinds of insights and inspirations and motivations so that our week is healthier and more fun and more productive. And we get along and have some fun today. And today, I see you guys popping on. So nice to see you this morning. Good morning, everyone. I just, put your name down there so I can see who's coming on. If you're new, you've never done this and it's live and you'd like to participate in the conversation, because that's what we do, there's a link up here that is StreamYard /Facebook. And when you click it, it's going to take you to a site that says StreamYard. It has a white button and a blue button. The blue button down below, that is going to let me have permission to see your name and see how you are. Good morning. Today's conversation is really important to me. And I want to let everybody know that happiness is literally some of the number one things people look for. So the reason I want to talk about happiness today is because I have noticed stress levels in the world going up, and people that are literally so unhappy, so out there trying to figure out how it is, howdy, my partner, how is it that we get to the point where we can gain happiness in our life and really have it, like moving from short-term happiness to long-term happiness. So short-term happiness is where everybody goes. They're like, short-term happiness is when we have that glass of wine or that hit of beer, weed, or whatever you do to relax or calm you, or maybe you're drug addicted, or maybe you're sugar addicted and you eat cookies. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Everybody's popping on. I want to say good morning to Karen, who is my wonderful business partner. I love working with you. You're just rock. Good morning, Robin. Barb, nice to see you. Good morning. What is this, 3 or 4 days in a row, Barb? I'm so pumped up. Thank you for being here. The Corgi kids must be behaving. Hey, Donnie, good morning. Donnie, I had a dream about you last night. I can't wait to tell you. Hey, Peter, how are you? Nice to see you this morning. Good morning, Marie Jo. Nice to see you on. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited for you to be here. Scott, nice to see you. Everyone have coffee yet? That's what Scott's asking. I know I do. I don't leave home without it. Thank you so much. Great to be here. And today I want to be talking about something that is coffee in hand, said Donnie. That's right. I want to talk to you about something that's so important, not just for quality of life, but productivity. Now, I want to say, happy people do more. Happy people accomplish more. Happy people have healthier bodies. Just in general, happy people have healthier bodies. Happier people have quality of life. And so how do we move from that short-term happiness to the long-term happiness? There are tons of techniques. And I wrote down, literally, I made notes for the 3 things that I do that I think lead to long-term happiness. And most people don't think about their short-term happiness and long-term happiness. But have you ever noticed that when we describe people, we describe them by their attitude? Like, that girl, she's a hoot. Or, man, that dude, he's just always angry. He's a grumpy soul. And then we describe people all the time by parts of their personality. Like, he's a player. That means he's not serious, or she's a player. Somehow we see that as not serious. We describe everybody by the vibe that they have. And what happens when they have the vibe is we just go ahead and we talk to them. It's about an attitude they carry. the attitude. And if we could see somebody who's like, wow, she's so positive or she's so inspirational. If we look at Oprah and we try to grab her vibe, now it's like Oprah is a vibe. There's, happy, sad, player, great, successful, and then there's Oprah, who is like the ultimate of everything. And so today, when we're talking about what is it? What is it? Think about, what do you think leads to long-term happiness? Lori says this topic seems to fall right in line with today's message from the universe. Hey, Lori, by the way, nice to see you on. Here it is. It's not as if one could be bored enough, feel frustrated enough, or complain enough that their life would suddenly turn around. Doesn't work that way. Whatever everyone is, Lori, they become more of, and anyone can change, yes, what they become by thinking new thoughts. Happily, the universe. Lori, that is so interesting you say that, because the three things, I actually made notes today because I wanted to get the three things that I used that helped me create success and wealth and more happiness. Now, have you ever heard the word emo, which is one of those emo kids or emotional? Well, there's a point where you either become the adult or you still act like what you did back then. And so what I noticed for me was I needed to stop taking myself so seriously. I was so easily hurt. I was so defensive that no matter what it was, I kept defending myself. And I was so easily hurt that I couldn't take feedback. I couldn't take any mentorship. I couldn't get ahead of my own hurt feelings or people not seeing me exactly how I thought they should see me. Now, those were my teenage years, but they bled into my 20s. And if you don't handle that aspect of you, you're going to lessen the amount of happiness you can experience. Why? Because my mind never looked for anything else except how somebody was viewing me. And believe it or not, you put blinders on and you're like, if they talk about you, you're putting blinders on and you're not actually listening. You're actually surveying the conversation to see if they're putting you down or whether you like it or not. And you're so easily manipulated by that, because what happens to narcissists is they can throw you a few compliments and you're like, oh, that person thinks I'm this and that and the other. And then they start belittling you slowly. So I think narcissism is nothing but a really ugly codependent relationship between two people that it's nasty. And so what happens is you've got to have some sense of yourself. If you get led by whether somebody thinks you're good or somebody thinks you're bad, if that's the focus in your life, this person thinks I'm good and this person thinks I'm bad, or I feel good around this person, you're not with the person you need to be in order to be happy. So I realized I had to stop being manipulated by other people's thoughts of me. And what I had to do is focus on not being so ripped up by feedback. And I actually started listening to the feedback. And then suddenly, when I implemented the feedback I got, I had more happiness because I had more success. So yesterday we were working on the script. I wrote a script for a commercial that's coming up. And when my team went over it, I have to be so open because they're like, yeah, this isn't the right word. Take out this sentence. We don't even need this sentence. And if you're too precious about what you're doing, whether it's a painting, whether it's a book or whatever you're doing, if you're too precious about your art or whatever else, it's never going to get out to the public, because the public has their opinion and you have to be open and allow for their opinion, even when it's a hater's opinion or a good opinion. There is some point that you are going to have success based on you, not what other people say or do. That's the first thing I learned. And it was like, don't take yourself so seriously. That was my first thing to realize, that I was letting all my happiness depend on people and things outside of me. So here's the second thing that helped me be more happy in my life. I learned the difference between being reactive and proactive. Reactive and proactive. And MJ says happiness is an attitude. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And the key first thing you have to do, Marie Jo, this is so important. I just want to go back to this. The first thing you have to do is get real about the attitude you actually have. Do you have a negative attitude? Well, let me tell you, if you find yourself gossiping about people in a negative way, then yeah, you got a negative attitude. If you're working with a group of people and you're like, well, I really wish that they'd be this or they turn into this or they do that. And you're talking behind people's back, or you're talking to another one about your frustration with someone and how they are like this, that, and the other. You might have a bit of a negative attitude. You have to cop to what your attitude actually is first. Then you have to be proactive and say, you know what? Long-term happiness is work. It requires you to examine where you are, where you tell yourself that you're unhappy, and actually force yourself to stop the narrative. Force yourself to stop the story of that. So, thank you, Peter. Peter's saying awesome, Vicky. Karen says, lesson number 1 for today. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't take yourself so seriously. It's all a balance in your life. Yes, it is. Happiness is a balance in your life. But the first place happiness is a balance is within you. Within you. Happiness is a balance within you. Karen says, lesson number 2 for today. Be proactive, not reactive. Caution about labeling, Barb says. Those who hang labels on others are typically calling out their own personal challenges, something worth researching. Yes, that's so interesting because every single day that you find yourself putting labels on yourself, you're most likely going to put the same label on someone else, or it's a reflection of that label. Barb, that is so good. Caution about labeling. Those who hang labels on others are typically hanging out in their own personality challenges, something worth researching. So the third thing that has helped me, and I got to admit, I do not bat 1,000 at this. I have a pretty good batting average, and every day as I practice how to create more long-term happiness or greater happiness in my life, every single day that I work on that, I get up to bat and do that. And here's the thing. It's the ability to challenge my mind and change my attitude in the moment. Challenge my mind and change my attitude in the moment. So number 3 is the ability to challenge my mind and change my attitude. Now, here's the key thing. We talked about this all week. In order to challenge your mind, you have to know that you aren't your mind. You're not what you think. Most people like myself, we rely heavily on our thoughts. So if you rely heavily on your thoughts, there has to be something monitoring your thoughts. And your thoughts don't monitor themselves. Something else inside you monitors your thoughts. And what would that be? For me, the soul is who I am. I am a soul having a human experience. So my soul is the one in charge, and they have to monitor my thoughts. Somebody there has to go, yeah, that's not the thought I want to have. Or, yeah, is this a conversation? I want to say it like this. How is it that I can challenge what I'm saying to myself? So here's the thing that I work with. My favorite quote in the world is from Wayne Dyer. And I have known this to be true for years. He says, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. That is, to me, the secret. The secret isn't just the visualizing, etc. It's completely changing the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So now let's take that in a marriage. Every single day, somebody comes home and they flop the coat on the floor or something. And you're in your mind saying that every single day this person does this one. Change the way you look at it, and the things you look at will change. They're not bugged about dropping it on the floor. You are. So you can make a request. I'd really appreciate it if you hung the coat up on the coat rack when you came in instead of dropping it on the floor. And so that's still not changing the way you look at it. The core thing about looking at it would be the coat being dropped on the floor. My reaction to it is mine. So that choice then becomes, I'm doing a really light choice because I didn't want to use like, well, if your spouse is an alcoholic, or well, if your spouse is this, but whatever it is, your reaction is yours. And when I have a reaction like that, I have to ask myself why I have the reaction. And when I clearly have the reaction, the second I'm like, I'd love it if you put the coat there, and I think dropping the coat on the floor is bad, I automatically make myself the good person. So I realize that when I judge others, I actually am creating a false sense of self-esteem. I'm the good one because I hang my coat up. You're the bad one because you drop it on the floor. That's really what's there. And sometimes negativity, or what I call just negative intimacy, helps prop up our poor self-esteem. So hidden behind happiness is dealing with someone's poor self-esteem. And self-esteem is so sneaky. It's so sneaky. And negative intimacy. Hi, good evening, dear. I know that's Sangar. Nice to see you on. The negative intimacy is it's so sneaky. It can come out in different ways. It makes you feel better than, like there's hierarchy between people. Or, I'm more successful. Now I'm somebody. You aren't somebody because you're successful. You got to be successful because you were somebody when you started. You're just somebody because you exist. So happiness has all these little mental triggers that we use not happiness. Negative intimacy has all these triggers that we use that we produce fake happiness, temporary happiness, short-term happiness. If you want to move to long-term happiness, you got to be able to call you out. You guys are talking so fast. I just want to go right now and talk to some good people here. Barb, every single day they leave the toilet seat up or down. Laugh out loud. You're right. That's one that's there. Every day they leave it up or down. Let's see. Good evening, said Sangar. Good evening, Sangar. Oh, dang. Let's see. When I find the toilet seat up, I set the toilet bowl cleaner on top of the toilet seat lid as I close it. Wicked I am. Oh, my God. That's funny. Yeah. So again, when we have those little things that irritate us, or those little things, you have to call yourself out about your attention, and you have to know actually who manages your mind. Because you always, I can't, how many times have you heard this? I mean, come on, I can't even believe this is, everybody says, success is a mindset game. What does that even mean? Success is a mindset game. Success is the ability to manage your mind in the direction you actually wanted to go. So what happens when we're too tender, or we're so defensive, or we like negative intimacy, or we create hierarchy so we feel better, or we're willing to manipulate and cut people in the back, or try to make ourselves look better than the person by throwing somebody under the bus in a conversation? It happens all the time in a nanosecond. What is it that we're saying to people when we do that? We're saying, I don't have enough self-esteem to just be myself and who I am. I don't know how to manage my mind. I don't. And when you have that, when you're saying that out to the universe, guess what? It gives you more of the same. And you spin in this wheel and you're thinking, okay, everything is a mindset thing. Everything is a mindset. The mindset ability is you being able to catch yourself and stop it. And that's the practice. Know yourself deeply. Know the things that trigger you. Know, how do you stop yourself? How can you say no to yourself? Your ego is either going to be really strong and sabotage your efforts, or your ego is going to be second place and your soul's going to be first, and you're going to command the rally and saying, you know what? It's easy for me to say I'm sorry. It's easy for me to forgive myself from where I am right now. And from here on out, I'm the one who gets to choose my attitude. Now, what if you catch yourself in a stinky attitude? What happens when you catch her? Because this is the biggie for me. It's like, okay, if I'm in a stinky attitude, like let's say I haven't slept for days and I have not very many resources and I'm headed into a meeting. Well, I sit right there with people and I tell them I haven't slept very much and I don't have very many resources. You have to be able to take feedback from others in order to succeed. Now, think about this. When I was where I wanted to be, I knew I had to level up. I knew I had to level up to become what I want. And I know that the practice for me is to level up. How do I level up? I level up in consciousness. I level up in skill set. And I level up in maintaining my attitude. Those are the things that I practice on the daily. Am I perfect at it? I don't think anybody, I don't even know what perfection is. But can I sustain it longer? Yes, I can sustain it longer all the time. I've become very good at being proactive. Am I still reactive? You betcha. There are sometimes I'm reactive. And if I catch myself quick enough, then I have an opportunity to retrain myself and get better at my batting average. Happiness isn't something that is, I'm happy because my desires are fulfilled. Desires come and go. Marie Jo said it best. Happiness is an attitude. Happiness is a practice. Happiness comes in your life, especially, I mean, the first time you catch yourself doing something that is negative and you're like, oh, nope, boom. The second you do that, you're proud of yourself. You're like, yes, I caught myself. Yes. And then you know you're starting to level up a little bit. So when you look at happiness, what do you think leads to long-term happiness? And nobody ever thinks to that. Most of the time, people are just, pleasure is short-term happiness. You're out on a weekend and an ice cream. You go out and you have ice cream with your loved one. That's a short-term happiness. If you want long-term happiness, you put in place structures that actually keep you awakening, keep you engaged, keep you aligned. If you medicate and you watch and you binge watch TV, you binge watching something, that's short-term happiness. It's short-term pleasure. And it whether it's indulgent pleasure or not, I don't know. But we watch and watch and watch and watch and watch and watch and watch. And I've been victim to that too. I've seen a couple of really good shows, and Shonda Rhimes knows how to keep the hook at the end of every show, so that you have to go to the next show. You have to go to the next show. That is short-term pleasure. So if you're a person who's depressed, you have learned how to have long-term thoughts, long-term things that help you be depressed. And so the amount of time, I have to tell you, a story came into my mind. I wanted to tell you about me. There was a time when I was having panic attacks and a bit of PTSD. And they wanted to put me on antidepressants. And I was like, no, that is not the solution for me. That's not the solution. Because I knew if I was on antidepressants, I would have told myself that there was no way out of my depression other than chemical enhancement. And I know some people have chosen to do that. I didn't. I worked and worked and worked and worked. And when I found relief from having panic attacks, I found relief in my 20s when I started managing my mind differently. Like when it came on, I started asking what scary thing I was telling myself. And when the panic came on and shook, I didn't try to run away from it. I just felt it and let it run through me. That's what I did. I know that other people are suicidal if they don't take them. And I didn't feel suicidal. I just felt scared. And so how I managed that was different. But I want to say that helped me take a leap from being depressed, because the second I said, no, this is short term. I need to fix this in the short term and move back into where my long-term happiness was. Somehow we think happiness is not available to everyone. Somehow we think that people have, and there are some people that are so ill and so like they're going through boatloads of cancer treatments and everything else, and their attitude is so positive. They're like, I'm going to fight this, I'm going to get through this. And to me, that is the best medicine they can give this. I'm going to win over this, I'm going to be able to overcome this. And the treatments are hellish, and their attitude is like, no, I'm going to stay right here. They have bad days, but their attitude continues to carry them through treatment per treatment per treatment. And, I got to knock on wood right now. I hope I never have to go through that in my life. But for those people who actually can rebuild their lives or have illnesses, and their point is their attitude and attention, and it's not having a positive mindset, it's having an authentically happy mindset, which is different. It doesn't mean that you're happy 100% of the time, or you don't react at all, or you're in some higher. That's not what happens. It's that you don't camp out there. It's that you can catch yourself. It's that you have the ability to slay your ego right then. Like, nope, that's an ego piece. When do you say no to you so that it helps you have success in your life? When do you say no to you so that it helps you have success in your life? And to me, when you have an attitude that you can't manage, when you have thoughts and things that you can't manage your attention and you can't manage your focus, that is the biggest key to having happiness. The ability to manage what you're focusing on. And it doesn't mean you avoid scary stuff, or you avoid this, or you avoid that. I've been watching the coronavirus every day, and I've been looking at the numbers, and some of it's shocking, some of it's painful, but I can be present with it, present in that way, because I'm not looking from a good or bad point. I'm looking at from the data point. And anytime I feel fearful or sad or whatever, I'm telling myself stuff, and I acknowledge what I'm telling myself. It's like I'm in charge of me. And the thing is, you have to discover what me is. Me isn't what I'm thinking. Me is the person in here that gets to tell my brain what I'm thinking. And if you're too fear-based or you're too reactionary, you're not in charge of you. And thus happiness can't land. That it's such a hard practice to avoid. And to me, avoiding and lying and manipulating and everything else, it's so prevalent in the world. And when we get real and we get very deeply involved in ourselves in a good way, not in a narcissistic way, in a really good way, deeply get involved with ourselves, we can find out what makes us happy, what makes us truly, truly happy. And then happiness becomes an attitude. And like Donnie just said right now, happiness is a state of being. It's a human state. It's the natural human state of being. Donnie, I think that's so important, what you just said. Happiness is a state of being. And it's so basic, but so true. And we avoid our natural state of being. When we go back to that state of being, that's when we can have discernment about what we're doing. Karen Sachs says, believe this, everyone deserves happiness. Yes, everyone deserves love. And everyone deserves happiness. I agree with that. Love and happiness. Now I feel like, love. Is it Al Green that sings Love and Happiness? Love and happiness. I know you're thinking, please don't sing to us, Vicki. Let's see, Barb. From my perspective, I earned my doctorate in positivity in battling cancer and helping others with theirs. Absolutely got to stay positive. You know what, Barb? That is so true. I from the stories I've heard from you, positivity and keeping that attitude. And I love that she said, I earned my doctorate in positivity in battling cancer. And I believe that. Congratulations. I mean, that really melted my heart. And now you help others with theirs. Absolutely got to stay positive. You're absolutely right. And I think your story would make a great book, Barb, because it was such a long battle. And thank you for that. And so if you're battling right now, I don't care whether it's depression or sadness or whatever, there's a thing I want to share with you. And I hope that I have enough love bank to say this. One of the things that I know, the most important thing I know about whether I have happiness or not, if you've ever read the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie, which I suggest everyone reads, Loving What Is by Byron Katie, when we argue with what is, we lose our happiness. When we argue with what is, like, this shouldn't be happening to me. This isn't supposed to happen. It's not supposed to go this way. When we argue with that, then what happens is we lose our sense of reality, because the reality is that this is here. And when we can find the acceptance of what is, then we can start working with it, not against it. And I think when Barb says, from my perspective, I earned my doctorate in positivity and battling cancer, there's a point where you have to accept that you have this, and it's scary. And it's scary because you're telling yourself, well, I could possibly die. I'll lose everything. And there's this whole thing. And you have to decide whether you're going to fight for yourself or not. So right now, in this moment, instead of having cancer, can you just say, am I willing to fight for myself or not? If you're willing to fight for yourself, you have to figure out what you're actually battling. And the thing you're battling is your ego versus your soul. Who's in charge? So I want to say, that is your superpower, Barb. Yes, I agree. Donnie says, I understand that one, Barb. I've kicked the bucket twice in this lifetime. I know. Donnie's amazing. He keeps dying and getting back up again. What do they say? I'm too evil or cantankerous to die, or the devil doesn't want me now, or something like that. That's hardcore. So there is a Kindle redirect from an Amazon book, Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is. Thank you. That's such a fabulous book. And what it does is help us see happiness, and happiness is a state of being. So this is Thursday. It's Taco Thursday. Do something today that's going to make you happy. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Coffee Break Show. Mwah! Peace out. Thanks.